But next week, we aren't 100% sure of what the timeline will be, but Jordan and Ty are going out in the field beyond this. They're leaving from here and going somewhere. So I'll tell you where they might go. And for sure, though, in mid-August or so, they're going to start their gun tour.
Yeah.
Well, I can't remember what we decided to call it in the end. It was like United Guns of America or something like that. Jordan changed it to.
Jor- Jordan is the title king.
He is. So places like,
Yeah, I think we
recent shootings
recent shoot.
to
Yeah,
more not historical. Like Columbine wasn't historical, but
yeah. Well, I guess historical in the sense of the first mass school shooting.
well, yeah. And I always say like that's the one that should have woken up the country, and that's when things should have changed right away. But here we are. So,
Hey, hey.
so
Historically speaking, it takes a whole lot to wake up this country. Think about the
that's for
history.
darn sure.
But
So.
what we want to do is travel to certain areas. Like, I mean, shit. If there were any other story in addition to that, would be Newtown. That should have woke up the country, like Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
we
God. Yeah.
we want to travel to. Our intention is to travel to Newtown. Travel to North Carolina.
Parkland,
Par-
Orlando,
yeah.
and then
Um,
Aurora and Columbine.
Well, yeah, I think I'm not sure if all those, but the intention is to kind of start maybe on the East Coast or start on the East Coast, grab like Connecticut and Florida and probably South Carolina, no, was it North Carolina or South Carolina?
Um,
The church.
I believe it was north, wasn't it? It was Charleston.
Charleston,
So
okay, South
south. Yeah,
Carolina,
yeah.
South Carolina, and then go to the West Coast, in Texas and maybe Colorado and Las Vegas,
Yeah, and
because
unfortunately,
those
there's a
are
lot to choose from. We can, we're gonna.
ah Jesus Christ,
Yeah,
right?
it's.
It's crazy. So our intention is to talk to the surviving families of these shootings. There was one story. So I used to work for a production company called Brave New Films, and we did a gun documentary called Making a Killing, Guns, Greed, and the NRA. And we had a screening. Once the film was done, we had a screening, and we invited some of the survivors of the Aurora shooting in Colorado, Newtown, and it was Newtown, Colorado. I think it was Newtown in Colorado. And obviously, it took a while to get through the film. You know, a lot of breaks and emotions and starts and stops. Uh, During the midst of that, one couple who lost their son in the Colorado Aurora shooting spoke of their present life and how the death of their son is affecting. And he gave us an example. Say we're driving here to the studio. And this is the father speaking. So we were driving here, and me and my wife were listening to the radio, and something came on, and we started laughing. And instantly, that laugh was interrupted by the thought of my son is no longer here.
Oh my God.
And he said that happens every day. That happens every time we have a good moment. It's interrupted by my son isn't here. I am never going to see his smile again.
Mm.
He said that, and he said it never not happens. It happens every time, and we're going to have to spend the rest of our lives with that interruption. And you just think about that and so many other things that happens when you lose a child. You know, you think about losing a child. That's a part of you, especially a child that hasn't even lived life. An elementary kid, 8-year-old child. You know, a child that's in high school that had so much potential. You know what I mean? You think about that all of a sudden. You just saw them, and all of a sudden, like it's something you can't even imagine unless you've been through it. Like even what you imagine is completely wrong.
It's just devastating, and it's going to be, I think, a really difficult reporting tour for you guys. I mean, it. there are no words, for the things you're going to see and the people you're going to talk to. But it's so important because even, Parkland probably got the most media attention since Sandy Hook, but even
Mhm.
that's fallen off the radar
Yeah.
of mainstream news. So we want to shine a light back on these people who want to talk about this and who want to try to make changes in this country
Yeah.
because it's just a disgust.
Yeah.
It's our country's sickness.
Yeah, and gun violence in general, like it's a crazy mentality when it comes to certain underprivileged communities. Because I was raised in one of those communities, and gunplay is just a part of it, and you learn to live with it. It becomes just a part of life. Unfortunate, it just does because that's what you're used to. You have nothing else to compare it to. If you only lived in one place your entire life, and that place is a violent place, then it just becomes a part of just your existence, and you have to survive in that type of climate. You know what I mean? And when you look at places like where I was raised in Compton, Compton is definitely a lot better now. Not how it was when I was raised in the 80s and 90s, but you look at those type of places, in places like Chicago, like those places have mass shootings every day. We like to say that a mass shooting is how they have it, how it's profiled in America. It's four or more is a mass shooting in one shooting. So not multiple shootings. You can have a weekend in Chicago and have 19 people get killed, but there are numerous shootings. So it's not called a mass shooting. It's not on a national scale. It stays in Chicago. But I feel like Chicago is a big part of the gun problem in America, because if you look at Chicago, Chicago is the only city in the nation that I know that it's illegal to sell guns in the parameter of the city. There cannot be a gun store. It's illegal to have a gun store in the city of Chicago. You know what I'm saying? The first gun store is right outside of Chicago. I can't think of the city that's right outside of Chicago, but that's where the first gun store is. And so you can't sell guns in the city of Chicago, but yet it has the highest murder rate from guns in the nation. Why is that? The reason why is because our lack of gun laws. You have the majority of guns that's found in homicides and in shootings in the city of Chicago and South Chicago are guns that have been trafficked in from surrounding states like like uh, um, Wisconsin and Indiana, these states that have these very lax gun laws when it comes to gun shows. You have people that they call quote unquote private sellers who can go to a gun show and say, I'm a private collector and I want to sell my collection. To do that, you don't have to have any type of license or anything, and you can just sell a gun. And that's what happens. They sell all these guns to someone, and then this someone ships, traffics those guns into Chicago, where you can get a lot more money from it because the lack of availability of guns, which sounds ironic, thinking that Chicago has the highest murder rate, and they find the most guns in Chicago, but it's because of that reason. And and the reason that people are able to do that so easy, because they don't force these people to register guns. That's illegal nationally. There's no digital registry for guns. I forgot when it was passed. It was either 89 or something like that. You cannot. It is illegal to register a gun. Like to like have a registry for people. Oh, they have these guns. It's all just paperwork. The ATF has paper. A lot of them so old they can't even. It's not even legible. You know what I'm saying? And so, and it's all these facts that I learned when we did the Making a Killing, Guns, Greed, and the NRA. So you see the laws and the protection that the government has put in place for gun manufacturers and the NRA. You know what I mean? That they're huge legislative beasts. The NRA draft legislation, whether you guys know it or not. The NRA owned by the Koch brothers. I'm trying to think. Alec, the Koch brothers fund. Alec is it's a legislative uh, 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 I don't want to say company, but a legislative group,
Body, yeah.
yeah, body that draft legislation. So, like, stand your ground law. Stand your ground law was drafted by a company that was funded by ALEC. And this stand your ground law obviously became big when Trayvon Martin was killed. That's when it kind of went into the national, on a national stage. And so what happened is, this gun law. So in California, they have different laws in different states. So California, we have the castle law, where the only time you can use deadly force against someone that's in your house is, first off, they have to be inside your house. And then you have to say, I got a gun, leave. You have to say that. You have to let them know that you have a gun and to leave. And if they don't, then you have the right to use deadly force. So a stand your ground law says the perceived threat. Like if you perceive someone's threatening you. So think about that language right there. Perception. Not if you're being threatened, I'm killing you, I'm attacking you with a knife. If there's a perceived sense of threat, you have then the right to stand your ground, not only in your home, but anywhere that you're permitted to be. If you bought a ticket for a basketball game and you're at a basketball game and you perceive a threat, if you just get in an argument with someone or somebody bump you, and if you perceive a threat, you have the right to kill them. If you perceive that someone else is being threatened, you have the right to kill that other person also. That's what the stand your ground law is. That was drafted by someone, I forgot the lady's name, but she got a huge award from the NRA, and she worked for the NRA for a long time. That drafted that legislation, the stand your ground law, which is now in I think 25 states, a version of the stand your ground law. So the NRA have they have a huge team behind them that draft these laws to protect the gun manufacturers so that they can make money, because that's what it's all about. It's all about making money. The more we fear the government taking our guns, the more guns we buy.
Yeah, well, that's what, like they said after Aurora, after all of
Oh,
these mass shootings, the
that's it.
gun sales go way up.
Way up.
I mean, I kind of get
Gun
it,
sales
but
go
it's
way up
crazy.
when they say Obama's gonna take our
Yeah,
guns,
and
Hillary's
Obama's
gonna
gonna
take our
come and
guns.
get our
The
guns.
guns sales go up. That's a part of the PR, the propaganda, and it's all about making money. That's the bottom line. That's the bottom line. To stand the black, or even over that, is that we're gonna put this perception. I'm gonna tell you, I went, and I probably mentioned this a few times, but I went undercover with the NRA. And one of the guys that I was in contact with while I was there said, "Hell no, I do not own a gun." I was so surprised. He was the media liaison. I'll just say that, I won't say his name, but very nice guy. We were talking, and he was like, "Hell no, I don't own a gun. I don't have a gun in my house." It's like, but this is my job.
Mm,
He's like, I wouldn't have a gun in my house at all because it kills people. That's what he told me.
God, wow.
This is what a guy at the NRA, the media liaison, the media liaison director, he said, guns kill people. No, I don't have a gun in my house. I have kids. And he said, but he didn't say I have kids. He said, I don't have a gun in my house. Gun kills people. But I'm assuming he may have children. But you think about that statement right there, which is in total contrast
Yeah.
of guns don't kill people. People kill
Oh,
people.
yeah. What a low-brained thing to
Yeah.
let people repeat. It's so
Yeah.
ridiculous. Um,
So that's what we plan on doing is to go, and because of our climate and because of our motherfucking culture, that we, and because of us, we elect these assholes that's in the pockets of all these special interest
yeah.
groups, and they give shout outs and prayer requests, and then they keep going and keep making and supporting the same laws that's allowing people to have these guns and these shootings to continue to go on. We let things go too easy. We're becoming too immune and too used to the fact that at any point in time where we are in this country that there can possibly be a mass shooting.
Right.
It's happened so much that, okay, shit, it is what it is, and we keep going. And our intention is to try to keep it out there because these families are still dealing with this. We go on, But these families, they're still dealing with this and will be dealing with it for the rest of their lives because their family members are dead.
Well, so near where I live in Annapolis, there was just that the Capital Gazette newspaper shooting. Um, and one of the reporters, I wish I could remember her name off the top of my head. I can try to find it, but there's an amazing clip where she's being interviewed on CNN the day of, I think it was the day of or the day after this newspaper shooting, where her colleagues, it's not a big newsroom. So I think it was 5 people were murdered. And, I think it was Anderson Cooper did the interview, and she said, with all due respect, I don't give a fuck about your thoughts and prayers if there's nothing
Oh, when they were on the
else.
phone. Yeah.
It was,
Yeah.
it
If
was,
that's all you're giving us, yeah.
if the, yeah,
Hmm.
yep. So that, yeah, I think that kind of stuck with me because we say it all the time, thoughts and prayers, what about action? So we're hoping that,
Yeah.
that this tour can help spark some more action or get those stories out there. I think it's a really important thing to do. So
Imagine if someone was raped, just a random person was raped, and they go to court, and the guy is found guilty, and the judge he's found guilty for raping a young lady, and he goes in for sentencing, and the judge says you are sentenced to give this lady thoughts and prayers for the next 25 years.
Yep.
That's what you're sentenced to. Because that's kind of what's happening. Thoughts and prayers, and then they go on to continue to support these people that are fighting every time a state introduces different legislation to try to protect people. Like the NRA has a legislative branch. It's called NRALA or something like that. It's their legislative. You can go to their website and you can see the propaganda and how many lawsuits they have in numerous states because states are trying to pass laws not to eliminate guns, but sensible gun laws that will protect people, like requiring gun owners to lock their guns up.
right.
Things like that. So your kid won't get it. That's it. And they shout out this propaganda. Oh, that's the burglar assistance law is what they called it. Dead ass. Like, I swear to God, that's what it was when they sued the state of Washington. They called it the burglar assistance law. Because what they were trying to say, if you lock your gun up and someone breaks into your home, like, it's going to take time to unlock, and the burglar could kill you or take your stuff. So that was their whole approach to that thing, and they do this throughout the country. If you look and see how many lawsuits the NRA have against certain states because of gun legislation. Like, they don't give a fuck, and they don't even give a fuck about their membership. Like, you have it's like 90% of the membership that are for common sense gun laws,
Right.
and they continue to fight against it.
Yep.
They don't give a fuck about their constituents the same way that our governor officials don't give a fuck about their constituents.
No.
It's all about who pockets that they're in.
It's almost unbelievable. Like, can these people truly believe what they're saying? No, they don't, because it's about the money. But they sure are good at convincing certain people that it's right.
People think compartmentalizing is a virtue. Not me. Now, that being true, it can fuck up certain parts of my life if I don't know how to divide things, and separate things. But when you can separate things to the point of you can say, that's that over there, but I have to make money though. You know what I'm saying? I know they got killed, but hey, my job is to sell guns. I didn't kill them. I'm not the one that pulled the trigger. I gotta sell guns. So to me, I think that it's crazy that people can rationalize it and they can be okay with it. And I would see that they would have to be able to fucking live with themselves.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Otherwise, how could you?
Yeah.